Everybody, welcome to first the first international Bonyhad Hazkarah. As we all know, usually we do one in Eretz Yisrael and one in New York, but because of the circumstances this year, we were able to get everyone together and do it on Zoom. This is really, truly an international event. We have people here from Jerusalem, from Beitar, from New York City, from Antwerp. We were supposed to have somebody from Las Vegas, but he canceled at the last moment. So this is a real international event over here. For some reason, they decided to appoint me as the chairman. I guess it has to do with me coming up with the idea to do it on Zoom, but really, it wasn't really me that made this happen. It's really through the efforts of Larry Pfeffer, Leslie Barani, Shragi Feldman, all these people really were the ones that made this happen. It's not really me. I'm just the figurehead that represents all of these people. Of course, we also have to give honorable mention to Leo Brown, who's always been the driving force behind the Bonyhad Hazkarot in Yerushalayim all these years. I'm not going to spend too much time talking because I want to leave it to the people presenting. We're just going to quickly go through the program that we have here this, I guess, evening for people in Eretz Yisrael or morning in America. And then I'll finish off with a short idea and I'll give the mic over to Leslie Barani. So after I finish speaking, Mr. Barani is going to speak about what? Mr. Barani is going to read the text of the Bonyhad Memorial in English, and then after that, we're going to hear a siyum on Mesachas Yoima from Reb Shlomo Singer. After that, we're going to hear from Harav Again, Reb Yitzchak Zekel Polak, the Dayan in Antwerp, Belgium. He's going to speak about Reb Zekel Polak and Reb Zekel Spitz. Reb Zekel Spitz was the first rabbi of Bonyhad, of the city of Bonyhad. And he's actually an ancestor of the Galandauer family and the Kutner family and the Polak family. So that's Reb Zekel Spitz, and Reb Polak is going to speak about him. This happens to be a copy of Reb Zekel Spitz's book on the Chumash. It's called Birkas Yitzchak. After that, we're going to hear from Ilana Kravitz. She's going to read the text of the memorial sign in Bonyhad in Hebrew. She's going to translate it for the benefit of our Hebrew-speaking audience. Ilana Kravitz and Leslie Barani are uncle and niece, and part of the family is also Mr. Leslie Blau, who's listening to us from Borough Park, who authored this book on the history of the city of Bonyhad. Then we're going to hear from Agi Zwick and Edith Gruen, who are going to remember those who passed away during this last year. They're going to tell us some memories and speak about them. Afterwards, we're going to take a little break. We're going to have the seventh inning stretch, the interlude, which is going to feature Larry Pfeffer presenting us with different things about the memorial in Bonyhad and the list of the people who were martyred in the city of in the town of Bonyhad during the war. After that, we're going to have another video, a short video from coming all the way from Italy, I believe, right? From Italy. And she's going to speak about Bonyhad as well. Following that, we're going to hear from Reb Yitzchak Feldman in America, who's going to speak about Bonyhad. Then we're going to hear from Shoshi Horowitz, who's going to speak about her mother, Chani Galandauer, who is the Teres this year. Mrs. Galandauer and her daughter wrote this book over here, which speaks about her experiences living in Bonyhad as a girl and some really good Hungarian cooking recipes. And this is going to be one of the featured presentations. So her daughter, Shoshi Horowitz, is going to speak. After that, we're going to have another short video about Moshe Shkedi, who lived in Bonyhad, and he studied in the yeshiva in Bonyhad. And they're going to speak about his son, who was a general in the Israeli Air Force. His name was Eliezer Shkedi, and he was also one of the CEOs of El Al. That's going to be presented to us from Italy by Eva Giavrini, if I pronounced it properly. And then according to the new version of the program, it looks like the siyum for Yoma has been rescheduled to this point. So I'm not sure exactly where it's going to happen, but the siyum will happen. Afterwards, we're going to hear from Shalom Tzvi Brown, a grandson of Leo Brown, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the Bonyhad Yeshiva before the war. And then we're going to hear from Leo Brown himself. He's going to do his chazanic rendition of Kal Malei Rachamim in order to honor those who perished in the war from the town of Bonyhad. And finally, closing remarks from our Raggy Feldman, who's also our technician, and he's the guy who's running the Zoom program, and he's one of the indispensable people running this program here this evening or this morning. I just wanted to end off before I give the mic over to Leslie Barani with an interesting thought. Leslie Barani is going to be reading the memorial plaque that they put up in the town of Bonyhad, and a memorial plaque and the word memorial plaque and the word tombstone in Lashon HaKodesh in the Hebrew language is actually the same word. It's matzeva. The word matzeva is a very interesting word. The word matzeva, the root of the word matzeva is mitziv, is something that it means standing. A matzeva, a tombstone or a memorial plaque, is something that's standing. Like we find sulam mutzav arza, or we say atem nitzavim hayom. It's an expression of standing, which is a very interesting way of referring to something that really its antecedent is something that's no longer standing. A tombstone, let's say, sort of signifies a person who's no longer standing up. He's lying down in his grave. And yet the word that we use to refer to something standing, to somebody lying down, is a word for standing. It's a very funny usage. So the question is, why should that be? That the word matzeva, which means standing, would refer to something that's somebody who's lying down in his grave. It doesn't really make any sense. The tombstone or a memorial hints to somebody who's no longer alive, to help us remember it, yet it's a funny word. It's a cognate of the word for standing. Why should this be? So the Maram Shik, or Moshe Shik, a Talmud Chaver of the Chasam Sofer, writes that the word for a tombstone is a cognate of the word for standing, because this alludes to the fact that even though a person who passed away is no longer with us, they're lying down in their grave, and it seems like they're going to be down there for the rest of eternity, but it's not true. In the future, all the people, Sheikhne Afar, all the people who are living in the ground, they're going to come up. They're going to stand up on their feet once again. When Hashem brings us the Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead in the Messianic times, they're going to be standing up again. So the matzeva, even though it seems to be talking about somebody who's lying down in his grave, but the word for the tombstone alludes to the fact that they're going to come up once again. I saw a very fascinating idea. With this, I'm going to end off and give the mic over to Leslie. I saw this in the Sefer for Ulasher Omar from Rav Asher Pollack, a grandson of Rav Zekel Pollack from Bonyhad. Ulasher Omar, he writes that we find an allusion to this, a hint to this, in the Torah's description of Yaakov Avinu burying Rachel. When it says that Yaakov Avinu buried Rachel in Beis Lechem, so it says, that is Matzeves Kvuras Rachel ad Hayom. That place, that monument, is the Matzeva of the burial of the tomb of Rachel until today. So Rav Asher Pollack points out that this usage of the word Hayom is a code word for the Messianic era. So Matzeves Kvuras Rachel, it's the monument, it's the tombstone of the tomb of Rachel ad Hayom, until today. What's this today? What's the today that it's alluding to? So he points us to a Gemara, which says, in Gemara Masechah Sanhedrin says that one of the Tanaic sages once met Eliyahu Hanavi. He bumped into Eliyahu Hanavi. It doesn't happen to us every day, but it used to happen, I guess. He bumps into Eliyahu Hanavi, and he asks Eliyahu Hanavi the question that's been on all of our minds. He asks him, Mr. Eliyahu Hanavi, when is Mashiach going to come? So Eliyahu Hanavi says to the sage, he says, when is Mashiach going to come? Hayom! Now the word Hayom seems to mean today. So the sage says, oh, Mashiach is coming today. He went back home. He started, he put on his frock. Maybe he put on a tie. He started getting ready for Mashiach to come today. And lo and behold, he was disappointed that the day ended and Mashiach didn't come yet. And so he was disappointed and he didn't know what to do. Eventually, he bumped into Eliyahu Hanavi again. And he asked Eliyahu Hanavi, are you a liar? You told me Mashiach is going to come today and he didn't come. What's up with that? What's happening? So Eliyahu Hanavi says, no, you misunderstood. When is Mashiach going to come? Hayom, im b'kolei tishma'u. Hayom, today, im b'kolei tishma'u. If you listen to the voice of Hashem, right? That's what the Gemara says. But we see from this Gemara, Rav Asher Polak in Ula Asher Amar points out from this Gemara, we see that the word Hayom is a code word. It's a hint to the Messianic era. So when Yaakov Avinu named the site where he buried Rachel, Matzaves Kvuras Rachel Ad Hayom, the Torah reports that it's Ad Hayom. So the Torah is trying to tell us that it's only until Hayom, only until Mashiach arrives. When Mashiach arrives, it's no longer going to be a Matzeva. It's no longer going to mark somebody who is unfortunately passed away and is dead and lying down in their grave. It's going to mark somebody who's standing, who's nitzavim hayom. They're standing today. And that's the lesson of the word matzeva.
The sign reads, between May 12th and 15th, 1944, the Jews of Bonyhad, Batasek, Sexard, and surrounding villages. Between May 12th and 15th, 1944, the Jews of Bonyhad, Batasek, Sexard, and surrounding villages were forced to leave their homes and belongings. They had to move into the Bonyhad ghetto. Some were cruelly tortured in order to steal their valuables. On June 29, 1944, the approximately 1,200 Jews in the ghetto, mostly women, the elderly, and children, were forced into the sports field, where they spent their last 2 days in Bonyhad under the sky and in primitive conditions. On July 1st, they were taken from the Bonyhad train station by railway wagons to the Luckage barracks in Page. On July 6, 1944, they were taken by wagons to Auschwitz in cruel and brutal circumstances. They arrived in Auschwitz on July 9, 1944, and most were murdered on that day on the Hebrew calendar, the 18th of Tammuz, 5704. Hatred and brutality destroyed a vibrant and valuable Jewish community in Bonyhad and vicinity, just as it did in so many other places in Hungary and much of Europe. May the memory of the martyrs be blessed. That's the sign that hangs on the shul and also near the sports field. And I believe also the train station.
Yes, also at the train station.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's Mr. Blau sitting behind me. Unfortunately, he can't participate because he had a stroke and he can't talk.
We're going to hear now from my cousin Ilana Kravitz. She's going to read the text of the Bonyhad Memorial sign that her uncle Leslie read a few minutes ago. He read it in English, and she's going to explain it and translate it into Hebrew. So without further ado, here's Mrs. Kravitz.
Shalom Aleichem. So the inscription on the memorial that I understand, everyone can hear me? That Larry Pfeffer put up in Bonyhad reads as follows. בין התאריכים 12 עד ה-15 למאי, לחודש מאי, בשנת 1944, יהודי בויניהד, בטאצ'ק, שסקארד והכפרים מסביב נלקחו בכוח, הוכרחו לצאת מהבתים שלהם ולהשאיר את כל מה שהיה להם. העבירו אותם לגטו של בוניהד. חלק מהם עינו אותם, ובשביל לגנוב מהם את חפצי ערך, ובגלל שהם היו יהודים, אז עינו אותם והתנהגו כלפיהם באכזריות. ב-29 ליוני 1944, בערך 1,200 יהודים שנשארו בגטו, רובם נשים, מבוגרים וטף, הילדים. הכריחו אותם, הוציאו אותם למגרש הספורט שבבויניהד, ושם שהו ליומיים האחרונים שלהם מתחת לשמיים ובמצב מאוד מאוד גרוע, בלי הצרכים הבסיסיים. בראשון ליולי לקחו אותם בכוח מתחנת הרכבת שבבויניהד בעגלות של הרכבת ללקיץ', בסיס שבפקש, לבסיס לקיץ' שבפקש. בשישי ליולי 1944 לקחו אותם בעגלות לאושוויץ, מחנה המוות המפורסם, במצב מאוד אכזרי ותוך ברוטליות מרובה. הגיעו ב9 ליולי 1944 לאושוויץ, ורובם נרצחו באותו יום. התאריך העברי היה חי תמוז, 18 יום י"ח בתמוז, תש"ד. ושנאה וברוטליות הרסו קהילה קדושה ויוקרתית עם המון חיות, ושמענו לפני כמה רגעים כמה הקהילה הזאת תרמה במשך הדורות, ובגלל השנאה נהרסה כל הקהילה של בויניהד וכל הסביבה, כמו שזה היה גם כן בכל כך הרבה ערים ומקומות, גם בהונגריה וברוב אירופה. יהי זכרם ברוך.
Thank you, Mrs. Kravitz. We appreciated that.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome everybody from the whole world. And I'm sure it's going to be a roishem for the older neshumas, what we maskir for the Kehillah Kedosh Bonyhad. It's a mini Yisrael. Yeah. They could hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay. The mini Yisrael to learn in Bimesayim, a Masechta from Mishnayos, because Mishnah in Neshuma, they are the same oisias. So with this, what we learn in Mishnayos, we magbia, we elevate the Neshumas to Tachas Kanfei Ashchina. This year, we have a schus to be together with the whole world in Befrat, with the Anshe Eretz Yisrael, but they have a schis. Anshe Eretz Yisrael have a special schis, like the Gemara mentioned that in Masechtas Bruchas. Everybody who is in Chutz La'aretz, or even in Eretz Yisrael, or everybody should be mechaven keneged Beis Hamikdash, keneged the Kodesh Kodashim. Okay, so we have a schus to be together with Anshe Eretz Yisrael, and together even Italy. Hopefully Italy is also here, and they could hear me because there was a program. Okay. And this, we make it together with the whole Kehillah B'yachad, as I'm sure it's much a bigger schis for the Kedoshim than the Kehillah Kedosha Bonyhad. I just want to say a word. When the people, Baruch Hashem, who ever came back from Auschwitz, and they came back from the big war, okay, and they survived the war, they put up again Ma'amid, Adar Chudash, and special and the old way, what they be able to do the Kehillah, the shuls, the kashrus, the oid, like matzah bakery, and all the rest of the thing what the kehillah needs. Together with my two brothers, we grow up, and the cheder yingel from Bonyhad, he was learning by a blipe kaf, and by Rabbi Yankiv Duvet Breyer, he was the shoicher. We hope, anu mekavim, this limud mishnayes, what we're doing in our betzibur, should be le'ilun ishmusam kehillah kedoishe Bonyhad. And I hope next year, be'ezras Hashem Yisburach, we all, the whole kehillah from the whole world, what we're doing it now, we should be meet Yerushalayim Yirakoidesh together with Mashiach Tzedkeni. I'm starting the Mishnah, the last Mishnah for Yuma. Omar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, why we starting with Omar Rabbi Akiva? The reason was because Rabbi Akiva was also Neherag al Kiddush Hashem, like we mentioning here, all the Kiddush Hashem from Auschwitz. He went through the same Kiddush Hashem with the whole world, and that's why we want to Lahaskir as a Chisoy. Umar Rabbi Akiva, Ashreichem Yisrael, Havoil, Hagud is for the Yidden, for the Jews. If the Miyate Metaren, from who we are Metayr. And me Metayr Eschem, Rabbi Akiva is asking a question. Who makes the Tahara? And I squeeze in a little new chat. Who made the Tahara for all the Yidden, but they was in Auschwitz and they was killed? Who made the Tahara for them? Avichem Shebashamayim. Avichem Shebashamayim, that's the Father of and they made the Tahara on the spot over there. I just want to tell you, Arusha Teva is in Avichem Shebashamayim. Avichem is the Gematria 73. Bonyhad, who made the Tahara for Bonyhad? Bonyhad is the Gematria 72, and meet the Koiler, and meet the Stater from Bonyhad, it makes out 73. The same number like Avichem. So it's definitely what HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the Tahara, befrat, what we fitting around in such a Gematria, and together with the Bonyhad Yidden who made Avichem Shebashamayim. Avichem Shebashamayim Sheneimar Yecheskel Anovi is saying in the Pusik, V'zurakti Aleichem Mayim Tohoirim Itahartem. Hashem was bringing the water from the Mayim Tohoirim. The Efer Apuru was still from Moshe Rabbeinu's side. Is a few days with the Halten, and the whole Efer Apuru was Oid, Nishar, Mei Moshe Rabbeinu. The Hartem in Memele, they all became to her, ready to gain Hashemayim and sit in the Gan Eden. Maybe on the Hechste Platz, on the most highest place, but the Heichel von Hashemayim. The Oimer in Yirmiyahu in the Pusik Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. Shat Ma Mikveh Metayr Satmeim. If they want, they don't want. They're doing Metayr Satmeim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Metayr Yisrael. Even if you don't have the full Zechus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Metayr out and they from the Shemayim. You're going to say the Hadroch Alon, Sechtes Yuma, Hadroch Alon, Sechtes Yuma, Datach Alon, Sechtes Yuma, Datach Alon, Lo Nisnashim Minor, say the Yuma, Lo Nisnashim Minor. forgot from us. Loi ba'alma hudem, loi ba'alma gerusa. Hadro chalom, sechtes Yimim, hadro chalom. Dato chalom, seider Yimim, dato chalom. We always with you.
Mr. Singer, please unmute your microphone. Please unmute. Just click on the mic to unmute yourself. Thank you.
They got ears in the buildings.
As an admin, you can unmute it.
Now you're on. Now you're on.
Okay. Aaron nu hadden je lijnen libre seras gebevinden we vier samen kom bij zich zo manier genoen in nacht met z'n tweeën met z'n tweeën met z'n tweeën am kom bij zich zo Luni joides megen belom te zijn tegen smart. Maar ooit wat ik ga meenemen te tegen Leute niet.
He's gonna tell me when I should come back. And
Jullie besummen gekegelde maan waar jij was Leulam. Loi eskach bekdegen die wam gejesoen in burg atwa do inoy lam deine gekegel. Mijn hele weer. Mooi Daniel of nee wat in je lijn jullie wat zijn niet. Ze samt toe geld die me juist hebben samt toe geld geen niet. In onze raben we learning together. Samt toe geld geen me juist hebben ze mij dus looi me juist we kronen. Nacht maskimmen we heim maskimmen. Nacht maskimmen de divere teure we heim maskimmen met worden beteiligen. Ani umal anachni umal we heim amelim. Anachni umal me kabel schaar we heim amelim we een om kabel schaar. Anachni rots we heim roetsim. Heim roetsim de ber shachas. Anachni rots gaie woile mabu. Ze nemen we atu Elohim toridem de ber shachas. Anche dume me mirmu. Lo yechzi mayem ani eftach boch. Yerutza mifnech adon yelhaim lav sayni Shem שסרטן לציידם מסכתס ימה כך תזרן להסכס פורם אחרים ולסיימם ללמוד ללמד מתוך הרחובה לשמוע ולעשס לחיים את כל דיבר לצלם תוריסך באהבו הסחיס כל התנור והמרור מתלמידי חכום מהנזכורים בסיידר ימה ובכל הספורים שלמדתי יעמוד לי לזרי לזירו זרי לזרנו לכל קהילה So sumi shatoiru handoishu mipi zari zera zara mi atu vadoilom. Vikiem bune mikro shekusi bisaleche chutam koisku shavuchu tishmo ilulechu vaakitsoisi hisu kuseiku. Vir mi yumeichu yosifiru chusnois chayim oirech yumen bimino oishe vchuvoit bismoilo. Adonoi oizlam yitain adonoi vurechas amoy batshulon. In case everybody has a minion over there, you should please say Kaddish.
Next speaker is Rav Pollack. Rav Yitzchak Zekel Pollack was a dayan in Antwerp, Belgium. If you've never heard of him, he's a very important Jew and has contributed a lot to Jewish people. And he's done a lot of research on the Pollack family and the history of Bonyhad. And the Pollack family was one of the original people who broke off to start the Orthodox community, correct?
Okay.
And the Talmidim of the Chassam Sofer, and the descendants also of Rav Zekel Spitz, who was the first Rav of Bonyhad in the 1700s. So without further ado, here's Rav Pollack.
שומעים אותי?
Yes. כן, שומעים אותך.
כן, כן.
כבוד הרב קליין, מר פפר, מר זינגר, כל יועצי בוניאד. Ich will nur sagen in Jiddisch, also ich bin nicht zu gewohnt zu reden anders wie Jiddisch. Du will ich probieren. Und ich will machen eine kleine Hakdume. אני אעשה הקדמה ששמעתי מרב מיכול בר וייסמנדל זיכרונו לברכה, הוא כידוע עסק הרבה בהצלה, והוא שאל פעם לחותנו הרב מנייטרה שהוא מצא בין תושבי נייטרה עוד מקומות הרבה יהודים, שאל מי ייקח מהקהילה להרביע אותם אצל הגויים שם. אמר לו הרב מנייטרה, רב שמיל דוד אונגר זיכרונו לברכה, שייקח זוס נמן וימר אלתר יידן. ושאל אותו למה לקחת זקנים. אמר לו, הנייטרה רוף, de Krieg wird darüber gehen, es wird bleiben Ältere, es wird bleiben Jüngere. Man darf lösen für die Jüngere wie mehr ältere Jiden, als sie sollen wissen, sie sollen sehen, wie Otaid ausgesehen, wie Otaid getracht. אמשיך לדבר בשפה המובנת לכל, שהרב מנייטרה אמר לו שירביא ככל האפשר אנשים זקנים, כדי שהדור הצעיר יראה איך חושב יהודי של פעם, הערך של פעם, היהודי של פעם, ושימשיך את הדרך הזה. לאור זה שמחתי כשביקשו מאחי רב זכריה פולק בציריך שיבקש ממני לדבר קצת על בוניאד, כי אני מרגיש חוב קדוש להעביר קצת מה שראיתי ושמעתי וחקרתי בין ניצולי בוניאד, מתולדות בוניאד. זה היה עיר אבותיי, הייתה עיר שלקחה מקום ראשון בתולדות מסורת התורה בהונגריה. כבר בשנת תקי"ח, זה 1768 למספרם, כבר היה שם איזה קהילה, משום שבפנקס החבר'ה קדישא שלפני המלחמה היה העתק משם, וזה היה יישוב שבאו בעיקר מגרמניה, מאוסטריה, מביימן, ורב הראשון היה רבי יצחק זקל שפיץ. הוא בא מניקלסבורג, הוא היה נכד של רבי אליהו, הרב של קוליש, בזמן גזירות תרת"ט, ואחריו כיהנו גדולי התורה, גדולי האומה, ביניהם רב וולף בוסקוביץ', הוא היה בנו של רבו של חסם סופר, מחבר סדר מישנר וקבור שם. היה שם רב צבי הרש הלר, הטיף גיטין. הוא בא לשם מאונגבר. אונגבר הייתה עיר ואם בישראל. ועם כל זה, כשקהילת בוניאד הציעה לו את הרבנות, הוא קיבל, משום שהייתה מרכז התורה. בימיו היו בהונגריה וצ'כיה, היו 3 מרכזי התורה הכי גדולים, היו בזמן החסם סופר, בוניאד, פרשבורג ואובן יושון. אובן יושון זה בודה. אז זה הייתה קהילה בפני עצמה. היום זה בודפסט, זה יחד. וכל מקום כזאת תפסה בוניאד בהרבצת התורה. אחריהם היו עוד רבנים גדולי תורה, ביניהם רב זקני, רב זקל פולק שהיה שם. הוא בא מסרדהייל לחזק את הישיבה של בנו רב מוישה פולק מחבר, וידבר מוישה, ביחס מוישה, אחי ואני יחד, אנחנו התפסנו לפני כמה שנים את הספר ביחס מוישה וביחס יצחוק, אני חושב שאפשר לראות את זה, וזה נתפס מחדש, ספר על מסכת חולין, ואחריו היה רב יהודה גרינוולד, שאחר בוניאד היה רב של סאטמר, ועוד גדולי רבנים, עד רב אהרון פרסבורגר, הטבוס הסודה, הרב דויטש, מגדולי הדור, כולם היו ענקי התורה שהניחו את החותמת שלהם בקהילה. אני אקריא לפניכם קטע קטן איך הייתה ישיבת בוניאד בזמן זקני רב זקלי. זה מה שאחד התלמידים, אחד בין גדולי העולם של תלמידי בוניאד, אתם יודעים, יצאו מבוניאד, מבית המדרש של רב זקל ושל רב מוישה, תלמידים גאוני עולם, ביניהם רבנו רב יוסף צבי דושינסקי, רבה של ירושלים, ביניהם רב דוד וסלי, שהיה הראש בית דין בפרשבורג, תלמיד בוניאד, ביניהם רב יוסף לייב סויפר, הוא היה הרב של פקש, ביניהם רב יהודה הכהן קרוס, הרב של לקנברג, והרבה מהם, רבי ינקל בלומנטל, מייסד פתח תקווה, ביניהם עסקנים מופלגים, רב מוישה וייס, ראש קהילת מקווה, רב אושר שטרן, ראש קהילת פילוק, הוא היה חתן רב מוישה, רב ראובן שלמה הלוי יונגרייס, מייסד העדה החרדית בירושלים, יצאו מבית מדרש של בוניאד הרבה מורי האומה. בזמן זקני למדו בערך 24 שעות בבית המדרש. בחצות בא רב מוישה, הרב של רב מוישה פולק, ואני קורא מה שכותב רב יוסף לייב סויפר, גאון, קדוש וצדיק, איך שהוא כותב על רבו. אז המילים שלו, שמי שרק נכנס בבוניאד יצא משון ברוח דעס ויראת השם, ומבית מדרשו יצאו לאלפים תלמידים, רבים מהם מורי הוראות בישראל, חסידים ואנשי מסה, ושוב הוא ממשיך, מה נהדר היה המראה, כתבה משה איש האלוקים בחצות לילה, אשר היה במדרש, אשר מלא מעבר לעבר, וישב על הארץ למרמר בכל כוחו ולעורר קינה ונהי על חורבן בית מקדשנו. הוא ממשיך את מה שהוא קיבל מהי סבא קדישה, הרב הגאון הצדיק אין על עפר משלו, רב זקל, והוא ממשיך בכל מה שהוא שאב משם והמשיך לתלמידיו. יוצאי בוניאד המשיכו את המסורת מדור דור עד השואה. כשהגיעה השואה, אז היה הרב של בוניאד, הגאון הצדיק, רב אהרון פרשבורגר, והוא מסר נפשו לעזור לפרנסות יושבי העיר, אשר הגברים נלקחו מהם בתש"א, שוב בא גזרה מונקוטאבו, באו קודם גזרות, כל הגברים מ-18 עד 40, שוב הייתה גזרה מ-40 ולמעלה, בין אם יש לו כוח, בין אם אין לו כוח, הוא לוקח, לבסוף בגזרה הכללית, גם מתחת לגיל 18, ויהודים נלקחו לעבודת כפייה תחת משמר של אנטיסמים אכזרים, ואני פגשתי פה ושם ניצולים. פה לאנטוורפן הגיע מפעם לפעם רב אליעזר ברקוביץ' זיכרונו לברכה, והוא סיפר, הוא היה בא אצלי בבית ורצה להסתכל על כתבי היד שיש לי מהדיין האחרון, הראש בית דין רב אברום פולק, שהוא היה קרוב סביב ל-90 כשלוקח לאושוויץ. הוא היה גאון נפלא, זכר בבלי וירושלמי בעל פה, והוא היה דמות של חיזוק לתושבי בוניאד, יחד עם הרב, רב אהרון פרסבורגר. והוא סיפר, הוא היה בא אצלי, מסתכל על כתבי יד של רבו, יושב בבית שלי, יושב ובוכה. ובתוך הבכיות שלו הוא סיפר לי שהוא עבר את המונקוטאבו. אז הוא סיפר לי דבר שאני רוצה להעביר לכם. ככה היה נראה יהודי של בוניאד. הוא סיפר לי שהוא עמד לפני ראש השונה והוא תאב לקיים מצוות תקיע שויפר, ושם לא היה שויפר, שם לא היה אפשרות של שויפר. אז הוא אמר לאסירים אחרים, אבל אני רוצה שויפר, זה עוד מעט ראש השונה. והסתכלו עליו כמי שאינו בר דעת, אתה מחפש פה שויפר? והגיע ערב ראש השונה. אז הוא אמר, אני צריך שויפר. אז הוא חשב, האפשרות היחידה שיש לקבל שויפר זה ללכת עד סוף השדה, איפה שחרשו, שעבדו, והוא לקח שם את הכלי עבודה, והוא עבד קרוב לפסי הרכבת. הוא עמד שם והוא התפלל להשם. הוא אמר, ריבונו של עולם, אני פה במונקוטאבו, אני רוצה לקיים מצוות שויפר. אולי אתה תשלח לי, אולי עובר רכבת שזורקת לי שויפר. הוא אמר לי שהוא לא זוכר אחרי המלחמה שהוא זכה להתפלל תפילה כל כך עמוקה. וכבר השמיעו סימן לכל העובדים שצריכים לחזור. והוא סיכן את נפשו להישאר שם. והוא נשאר, ופתאום עובר שם רכבת. לא רק שעוברת, אבל בדיוק עוצרת הרכבת נעבך מלאה יהודים, ודרך חלון קטן הוא שומע קול שקורא, לייזר, דאפסט השויפר? והוא אומר, יוח, דף השויפר. ומהחלון הקטן נזרק שויפר. והוא לא ידע מי זרק את השויפר. ועברה את השואה. אחרי השואה הוא מוצא את הגאון הצדיק רב דוד מושקוביץ' זיכרונו לברכה, שהוא אחרי המלחמה יחד עם הגאון הצדיק רב שמואל פרסבורגר. הם ניסו לשקם את הקהילה, ושוב רב דוד היה רם בישיבת בלז בירושלים. אז הוא מוצא את רב דוד, אני זכיתי להכיר אותו, ורב דוד שואל אותו, ני עוסקנים את השויפר? הוא אומר, כן, לקחתי את השויפר. אז הוא אומר, איך היה לך שויפר? אז הוא אמר, הוא היה במקום אחר במונקוטאבו. את זה אני יודע, משום שאבי היה רב מנחם פולק זיכרונו לברכה, שהתגלגל לעיר בריסל אחרי המלחמה, והוא היה יחד עם רב דוד במקום אחר במונקוטאבו. והוא אמר לי שרב דוד לא ויתר אפילו יום אחד על טבילה במקווה באמצע הרשעים, באמצע המונקוטאבו. הוא אמר, אבי סיפר לי שהיה שם כמה בתים קטנים איפה שכל האסירים ישבו והיו בלילה וצריכו להישאר שם, ורב דוד מצא בין הבתים חור עם מים, והוא גם מצא חבל, השטריק, את getroffen השטריק, והוא העיר שני בחורים, אחד מהם היה אבי, אם אתם gebinden, אם אתם הרוב gebrängt in dem Loch von Wasser, in יום במקום כזה, סביב רשועים, לא ויתר על היהדות שלו עד כדי מקווה, וכל יום הוא היה עלה במקווה. לא יאומן. והוא סיפר שעבר דרך המונקוטאבו איפה שהוא היה, רואה עם הרבה צאן. והוא ראה ליבדי כשויפרס, הוא ראה גדיים עם שופר על הראש. אז הוא שאל את הרועה, אתה הולך עכשיו לראות את הצאן, אתה חוזר דרך מקום שלנו? אז הוא אמר לו, כן, בעוד כמה ימים אני חוזר. אז הוא אמר לו, אם אתה מביא לי 2 שופרות, אני נותן לך כך וכך כסף. הוא הרביק כסף בבגד שלו. כשהלכו למונקוטאבו, אז כל אחד מוצרח לקחת את הבגדים ואת כל החפצים שלו איתו. והוא שילם לו, והוא בישל את השויפוס עד שהוא חשב, אני לוקח 2, אולי 1 מתקלקל, והשניים היו בסדר. אז היה עליו 2 שויפוס. אחר כך אבי זכה לברוח מהמונקוטאבו הזה, הוא הלך רגלי עד בודפסט, היה לו ניסים גדולים, ורב דוביץ לוקח לרכבת, אני לא יודע אם זה לאושוויץ או למקום אחר, אבל הרכבת הזאת עברה בדיוק במקום של רב אליעזר ברקוביץ', בדיוק אחרי שהוא גמר את התפילה, הכביל השויפור, ריבונו של עולם שיק מיך השויפור. ואז הוא ראה, הוא לא יודע למה, הרכבת עצרה דקה. וכשהרכבת עצרה, הוא שומע, הוא רואה רב אליעזר, והוא קורא אותו, לאיזה דווקא שויפור, דort נגיקים מן השויפור. אני מספר את זה, זה היה אש להבה, האש של קדושה, של תושבי בוניאד, במצב הכי גרוע, אבל הם רצו שויפור. הם לא איבדו את היהדות שלהם. החסד שהיה עם רב אברום פולק, עם רב אברום פרסבורגר, בימים האחרונים, זה לא ניתן לתאר. יש לאורך יומים, בן שלו, הרב מיכאל, בווינה יש יוצא חלציו. מוטל עלינו להמשיך את המורשת של בוניאד. מוטל עלינו לספר לצאצאינו שהאש להבה שהיה, זה צריך להיות עבורנו דמות. אחי ואני מחפשים איפה שרק מוצאים איזה כתב יד, איזה דבר של אבותינו, ואם יש למישהו, אנחנו משתדלים להתפיס אותם, לעשות הנצחה, ואני מודה לכולכם ומאחל לכם שהאיבשטר soll helfen. Ich hätte lachte Jiddisch, ich hätte normal kein Monisch in der Computer, ich hätte kein Monisch nur mit der Telefon. Ich bin pusht daraus in der Geide, weil ich habe gehört, als du Kinder mit Einiglich, Bonyhad Kinder in Bonyhad Einiglich, wo es hochen, im Willen Herrn ein bisschen, hat mir geklingen bei der Euren, dus was der Neid gerufen, sich eine Levruche, Hashem hinkommt Dumoi, hat gesucht für Rab Michul be, aber darf sehen, also bleiben wie mehr ältere Jiden, die ältere Jiden sollen sagen, muss für die Jünger, also sollen sehen, wie hat Aid ausgesehen, wie hat Aid getracht, wo hat Aid gestrebt, soll Mamschich sein, der heilige Teure, wo sie gewesen mit Dor, und wo es Bonyhad ist gewesen, am Mifzara Teure, wo Saatz ist beschaffen, Saatz ist aufgestellt geworden, der Kehille ist von dort heraus a Gewalt Teure, Adayoim, ganz Jerusalem, Ira Kodesh, Neda Achredis, noch ein paar Plätze auf der Welt sind in Joitze Bonyhad. Ist für uns allein, darf man gedenken, wie hat er ausgesehen, darf man gedenken, unsere Uwes, und man darf sehen, Mamschach zu sein, ihm soll alle sein gesinnt und stark, sie können übergeben für unsere Kinder, unsere Kindskinder, der Ehrlichkeit, der Geschmack im Leben, was man hat gehabt, für sich zu führen, wie der Friedeke Deures, und es soll alle sein gewünscht. Ich kann nicht lang bleiben, weil ich bin sehr, sehr dumm geschubert in meinem Sturz, aber ich habe genommen jetzt dem Zeit, ich bin nicht kennen, Herr und Vater, aber ich bin sehr, sehr zufrieden, auch kennenzulernen, Chodschik, also mechanisch, und ich hoffe, so ist die Gelegenheit, auch zu kennenlernen, Punim el Punim, soll alle sein gesinnt, in die Kdoische Bonyhad soll man schnell zurücksehen, mit Moschiach, Zidkeinu, in Trias HaMeisim, Bimeiru V'yomeinu Omen.
Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. I think everybody is very happy, but it's a little bit sad also. The COVID-19 is not such a happiness, and it's a real pity that we can't see each other by real. My name is Shoshi Horowitz. I'm the daughter of Rabbi Yochanan and Hani Gallandauer. My mother just passed away half a year ago. Really hard. It was Shabbos Balkasa. She had Mrs. Nishika. She was surrounded with grandchildren, grandchildren, and it was really something very special. All her life, she told me, I don't want to, I saw so much people around me died in Auschwitz. I just don't want to suffer. I want to go in a minute. And this was, she was 93 and she passed away like a real queen. Many people came to our Shiva from the people that are here to see, to come with us and to be with us Menachem, and we really appreciate it very, very much. Really appreciate the family of Brown that really came, and it was for us something very, the Brown family. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, so it's really unbelievable that this year we can't meet each other in a normal way, and my mother is not here. I think everyone in Eretz Yisrael, and I heard a lot about me.
You please mute everyone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said that it's really very sad that my mother is not here, but my mother was the one that here in Eretz Yisrael, everybody knew her. And I heard many, many names that are in New York. I heard in my house, the Zinger family and many of other ones that's been very, very close to my mother. And also to my father, because my mother and my father, they're both Gallandauers, they're cousins. My mother, after the war, wanted very much to marry off a Gallandauer because she wanted to continue the family. And really, Kodesh Baruch Hu helped her, and she had a beautiful, beautiful family. We'll speak about it in a minute. I just want to say that for Ilal Nishmas, my mother, she was the one here in Eretz Yisrael when I was already 10 years old. She took me every year to Har Zion, to this tablet. And really, when I came there when I was so young, I never understood what's sad about it. Because when I came, everybody said, wow, you're such a nice girl. You grew up, you're so sweet, you're the youngest girl. But slowly, I found out that the people become older and they're crying more, and it was really hard. And my mother was fighting the people they should come. In the beginning, people came, then it was a time that people didn't come anymore because everybody was busy to build his own family. And everybody was like, wanted to be happy, didn't want to be so upset. And my mother always told me, please go up and bring 1 to the 10 to be able to say Kaddish. Once she told the people, you know, that the people doesn't come, what we're going to do? So they decided they should bring the children, the grandchildren. And this was something, a very good idea that they really, just 1 year, show up, so many grandchildren came, and they continue the beautiful chain. My mother wrote the book, and when she wrote the book, she didn't want to take it out. She said, I want people should know what Bonyhad was. And it was very, very important for her. And this is a very big, a very chapter in the book, the Bonyhad before the war. Then was the war, the one was after. But was before was very important for her because she said that this Kehillah of Bonyhad was so special. It was something so different than the other Kehillas. She always said was no Amaratzim. Was no Amaratzim in Bonyhad. This is something very interesting, she always said. And she said we have to keep them in Hogim. We have to keep them in Hogim on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, through the songs that we sing on Shabbos, through the recipes, through the interesting recipes on Yom Tovim, like on Sukkot, the Diosh and the Kapusto. And she said through this we'll know, the young generation will know more and more about the community. My father and my mother built a beautiful home, and we can see this is actually the Apple book. You could see, and we have it also in English. I must, yeah, in a minute. I want really to thank very much Larry Pfeffer that he put it in the Google book together with Klein, with the Klein family, and they built a beautiful home that it was a huge hachnosas orchim. It was tzedakah, tefillah. My mother was really a very special woman that always was happy and just wanted to make good for people. This is her father. I believe that many people here knows who was Chaim Tzvi Herman, the father of my mother, and the book is really, I think, very important. It's a pity it's in Hebrew, but it's really very important for the generation. It has 45 recipes inside that in a minute, like young ones want something to know, something what to do, how to do. So they open the book. The recipes are not in the end of the book. They're in between the stories, and it makes the life in Bonyhad much more like it's we like today. Come alive, yeah. This is the. Where you see now, you see the house where my mother lived, and this is the Bonyhad Shul, what you saw after. We've been already a few times. My mother was there twice, and we whatever did in amazing. I just want to give over 2 minutes my son, Sodi, that he will tell you a few words why we called the book, the Apple book. It's the apple tree. The apple tree.
So this is the actual tree that you saw on the cover of the photo. And this tree has the names. My grandmother had over 50 grandkids and over 220 grandkids. So basically, and grandkids as well. So she recently passed away, but before she passed away, every time someone was born, she had an artist come and paint a name, and she would put, you know, the name of the tree. And just a little bit of background. I belong to an organization called 3GNY, which is an organization of grandkids of Holocaust survivors. And what we do is we go to high schools in New York City, and we train, first of all, speakers how to research and tell their grandparents' story. And then we go to high schools and we share the stories with kids from age 11 to 17. And it's always a very, emotional thing to go share your grandmother's story, especially after I have this book. But one of the most powerful parts of the book is why she called it the apple tree and why apples were always so important to her. And the story goes that while she was in Auschwitz, she was digging tank tunnels for the Germans outside. Sorry. And around her birthday, or a day or two near her birthday, she found everyone. So she found, while they were digging, they found apple while digging the tunnels. And she wanted to share it with her friends, and her friends told her to have it for herself, which is a pretty amazing thing in that time. And she always said it was a lesson on not to lose humanity, even under the worst of circumstances, that no matter what happens to you, you need to think of other people. So she was a very special person. As we said, she only recently passed away. And one of the things relating more to Bonyhad, not her personally, like growing up in Israel, I always saw how she was, you know, I didn't know about the war yet. I was a kid, but it was such a happy house with so much food and so much generosity. And as I grew older and I started to understand the war and what she went through, you know, for a while I thought she was a very happy person, but she should be very happy because she, you know, they came to Israel, they built a business, a family, they were successful and everything else. But I always felt something was missing, no matter how much she had and no matter what, something in her happiness, you know, wasn't full. And I didn't really understand it till I went last year to Bonyhad and I visited in my own, by myself, because she talks in the book and she always talked about what a beautiful childhood it was and how there was fields and she can just ride from the bike to Hopar, or what's the name of the town her grandfather lived? Hopar? Saba shela. Hopar is like the town 10 minutes away where her grandfather lived, and she would ride the fields, and it was, you know, the most beautiful childhood. And only when I went there, I realized that part was taken away from her. You know, she wasn't even old enough to realize Zionism or understand like going to Israel. As far as they knew, there were hundreds of years in this little town, and probably would have still been there today if the Holocaust didn't happen. And it was a beautiful, beautiful childhood, and that part was taken away. No matter how much success she had in Israel, and how many grandkids and grandkids, that was home, and it was a beautiful place. And I only understood it when I went there. And she loved Bonyhad. I mean, she really, really did love her hometown, and we miss her. Thank you.
Can everybody be quiet?
Wow, that was very powerful. Thank you, Struli Horowitz. Thank you, Struli Horowitz, for that presentation. That was very interesting and powerful. Now we're going to hear a little bit from Mrs. Kravitz's mother, Agi Zwick, and we're going to hear from her cousin, Edith Gruen, who are also my father's cousins, and they're going to speak a little bit about the people who were nifter this year. Agi Zwick.
I am speaking about Tibor Fuchs. I don't know how many of you knew him, but he was quite a man. On May 8, 2020, Yudalit Iyar, on Pesach Sheni, we lost a very dear member of our Bonyhadi family, Tibor Fuchs, Yeshai Menachem Dov. He was known to us as Tibi. He passed away at age 67 after a valiantly fought battle against cancer. He fought for 7 years silently but relentlessly, but he never complained, nor did he ever ask, why me? Tibor was a very private and unassuming person. He loved horticulture and had the knowledge and green thumb to make everything he touched grow and thrive. He rose to become the president of the New York chapter of the Indoor Gardening Society of America, as well as the editor and publisher of its magazine. Tibor was born January 8, 1953. He was an only child born to Magda and Dovet Fuchs. He practiced Kibbud of Ba'ain to the fullest. He was a very devoted son, and throughout his mother's long illness, he would seek out many treatments, but to no avail. Unfortunately, he lost both his parents at a very young age. I got to know Tibi again after many years of not being in touch with him. He became an honorary member of the Bahrain Blow family. As much as he enjoyed coming to such a warm family, sharing in home-cooked meals, that reminded him of his mother's cooking, we enjoyed having him as well. He was thoughtful and always helpful to the seniors. He was a welcome guest on Thanksgiving, Shabbos, and many family occasions, birthday parties. He felt the love from the family, especially from my dear mother, Jendi. She welcomed him like a son. My brother, Leslie, even commented that she loved Tibi more than him. Possibly. Tibi brought much joy to the house by cultivating beautiful plants and flowers on the Barang Blau deck. They saved him the New York Times crossword puzzles he so enjoyed and was a whiz at doing. He was good in electronics, and some of you may remember in the early years of the Hazkarah, in the 18th Avenue Aguda Shul, Tibi was our tech expert. He brought his laptop to the Hazkarah and made possible all the audio and video presentations. Tibi was a kind, silent tzaddik. There was no holiness about him. He never walked past an outstretched hand without putting $1 into it. He adopted elderly sisters whose children lived far away, and he would regularly shop and visit with them. Tibi leaves behind a close cousin in Eretz Yisrael, Judith Fuchs-Skolnick, his cousins Miriam and Menachem Fuchs and their family in New York. He was a regular member of their family on many chagim and occasions. He was a wonderful friend. Tibor's legacy to us is try to be modest and unassuming. Make a huge difference in the lives that you touch. Be kind to everyone and bring beauty into the world in any way that you can. May his memory be blessed. Yehi Zichron Baruch.
Another member of our Bonyhad community, Hazkarah Marta Muller Teitelbaum, was nifted this spring, May 2020. I didn't know her personally, but I did find this out from Susanna Lowy Kleinlehrer, who spoke to her daughter, Amalka Teitelbaum, recently, and I don't have a photo. So all I could tell you to pay tribute to her memory and to pay tribute to Hazkarah Marta Muller is to share some of her own words that she told to my father, Leslie Blau, Yitzhak Moshe Blau, on July 1992. So in her own words, as my father interviewed her for his book, Bonyhad, A Destroyed Community. I will just highlight certain passages because I never had the pleasure of meeting Hazkarah Marta Muller in person. She was 13 years old then when she thinks back to what happened to her. Now it's July 6, 1992. I will try to make a long story short. This is Marta Muller's words. I'm originally from a small town, Bonyhad. I have many lovely memories from my youth and also very sad ones from the war. It is not only when I write my story that I remember my hometown and all the lovely people who lived in it, but every day I think about my loved ones whom I have lost and also about the members of the Jewish community of Bonyhad. I cannot tell you exactly how many Jewish families lived there because I was only 13 when I left Bonyhad and was deported to Auschwitz. I was asked to name a few families whom I remember. There was the Kraus family. Yankov Lipa Kraus was the Rosh HaKahal, the president of the Orthodox Kehila, and also the wealthiest balabas in town. He was my Bubby's brother. His Eineko, grandchild Heidi, and Agi Rosenfeld were my best friends. There were also the Gutman and Engelman families, Balabatisha people. I remember with love the Kaf, Goldring, and Fuchs families. Across from us lived Zauberbachi with his 4 daughters and the Marcos family. Esti Marcos was another friend of mine. Then there were also the Singer and Chrysler families and many other many others also, but I can't recall their names because I was only 13. I went to the Orthodox elementary school. Here the girls sat on one side and the boys on the other. I recall our teacher, Kutner Bachi, with adoration. Whenever I say Hallel, I remember how he translated it from the Lashon HaKodesh, the Hebrew, to Hungarian. Marta Fisher was my teacher through the first 3 grades. I lived in the same house with Zadie and Bobby Strauss and my immediate family, my mother, Olahu Hashalom, my father, and my 11-year-old brother, may they all rest in peace. My mother had 2 brothers, Hillel and Shloime, and their wives and their children. My Bobby had 2 sisters whom he visited every day, Rachi Singer and Gisa Kostelitz. I remember all of them with love. Then she talks a little bit about living in Bonyhad near the post office. We lived between clean and well-behaved goyim, she says in the book, and they did not show any anti-Semitism, at least not on the outside. Then the Germans came and everything changed. Then she talks about how they were taken to the ghetto. The young girls and boys used to parade with hope in the ghetto because it was rumored that they would take us to work. We used to stand at the ghetto's entrance and listen for news. We were told not to worry, that everything would be all right. Then they took us to the big city in Page, where a special transit camp where they collected the Jews from the surrounding towns and villages. Here they housed us in horse stables for about a week, and from here they took us to Auschwitz. She remembers the journey to Auschwitz. She says, as she told my father and was written in the book, I journeyed with my mother and 11-year-old brother Yankee, Olav HaShalom. With me were Zadie and Bobby. I had to stand for 3 days during our journey, so my Zadie was able to stretch his legs a little bit. In the wagon, it was pitch dark. We were not allowed to look out at the little opening, and we had no idea where they were taking us. With a heavy heart, I kept wondering what my mother and grandparents were thinking about on our desperate situation. We had very few belongings because earlier the Germans rounded up most of the grown-ups for an interrogation and forced them to give up all the money and jewelry. Then she describes when they arrived to Auschwitz, which we know from other stories, as told to me by my parents as well. The wagon doors were open and the SS shouted, "Las, las, get out." We had to hurry, leaving our meager belongings and the old and the sick behind. I recall how Mengele shoved my mother and me to the right side. I must have looked about 16 years old because my mother had put her black coat on me. To this day, I don't know if she wanted to save the expensive coat or she felt it was better for me to look older. Then she describes how they were pushed to the shower, how her hair was shaved, and how others pointed out after they came out, look up over there, your father's, mother's, sisters, and brothers are burning over there. She describes they gave us a dish for soup and for black coffee. We had to line up 5 in a row for hours while the SS came several times to count us. At night, we were led to a huge wooden barrack with no beds. We had to lie on a wooden floor without a blanket or pillow, and so on. She says we spent approximately 3 weeks in Auschwitz, and from there they took us to Stutthof. During that time, it was extremely hot during the day and very cold at night, no shelter, no water. We were really desperate. I recall how a charming young woman from Bonyhad, Rona Ineni, lay down in the sawdust, intending never to get up again. From Stutthof, they took us to a so-called work camp. We must have been about 800 women. They took us for work every day. We became very weak and developed an infection. She describes her mother who became very weak and developed an infection on her hand from lack of vitamins. As the Russians approached, the Germans took them on the death march. She describes how on that fatal day, as we reached the gate of the camp, ready to march, my mother fell down. I bent over to put on her shoe, which had fallen off, and to help her get up. But a soldier came and pushed his gun against me and shouted, "Los, los." I had to run, still holding my mother's shoe. In the next few days while we were marching, I kept wondering how my mother got back to the camp in the snow with only one shoe. Later, I found out that they had shot my mother on the spot and all those who were waiting for the trucks and who were left behind. She describes that the Russians, that they took them to a prison, and then finally, there they stayed overnight, and the Germans ran away, but the prison gates were opened by the Russians and they were liberated. Soon she said, we realized that the Russians would give us little comfort. I was 13 and a half years old and luckily found two cousins, one 26 and the other 19 years old. They kissed me affectionately and promised not to leave me until we got home to Hungary. Then she describes how they went from Bamberg to other towns, a place called Lvov. A few hundred of us gathered in a big shul. Long after we left, we heard that the Poles blew up the place and hundreds of refugees died. It was only a miracle that we got back to Hungary without money or food. I remember I used to sing Ani Mamim and other songs to cheer up our group, our little group that was left. It is still on my mind how I arrived in Budapest. It happened in the beginning of May 1945, and as I stepped off the train, I met my mother's cousin, Wolf Kostelitz. He took me to his home. She describes the food that she ate. And then my uncle Hilaire Strasbach, she found out about me and he sent up a baked chicken. I recall how everybody looked at the chicken with surprise and they did not know what to do with it. From Budapest, I went to Kiskunhalas, a small town in Hungary, and from there to Bonyhad. I will never forget my uncle Chaim's face as he looked at me for the first time. Before Auschwitz, I was a normal 13-year-old girl, but coming back from deportation, I looked like a 40-year-old woman. However, after a year with normal food and clothes, I looked once more like a regular teenager. I stayed in Bonyhad for about 9 months, and I left the city to go to a city called Gyöngyös. My uncle Chaim remarried. He took his wife's sister Pirike, her sister, his wife Brady, perished in Auschwitz along with their 10-month-old Yingele, a little boy. We stayed in Gyöngyös for about 3 years. I always thought that I was on a honeymoon because those 3 years with my aunt and uncle were very happy. However, our happiness did not last long because the Russians soon came to our country. So we fled to Vienna, and from Vienna, my relatives decided that they wanted to go to Israel. I met my future husband, and after knowing each other for only a few weeks, we decided to marry and emigrate to America. She describes November 1949. We arrived in New York. We had a very hard time in the beginning. My husband had a successful business in Shatorai. He went to work here in a factory. We lived frugally at first and saved enough money to open a factory. Thanks to Hashem, we became quite successful. For a couple of years, we lived in Crown Heights, and then we moved to Borough Park, where we still reside today. She says, I should wear a button saying, I love New York. Indeed, I desire no other place to go to. I love my Hasidic surroundings. We have a lovely home, and on Yom Tovim, holidays, and other special occasions, it is great to get together with our 4 married children. As a rule, we always talk about the past. We recall what we went through, and we talk about our dear parents and grandparents and other members of our families who all died Kiddush Hashem for being Jewish. They all should pray for Klal Yisrael and cause Mashiach to come soon.
So the next thing on the program was Larry Pfeffer's slideshow about recent Bonyhad Shoah memorials and the martyr list. And then after that, Mrs. Eva Giovanni is going to have a short video. And if she wants the floor after that, she can speak about Mr. Vidor. Okay, Larry?
I'm not going to say anything about that, Ruben. Maybe Shiragi could just show the video, all right?
Okay.
The video or the PowerPoint, just confirm.
Well, there's a PowerPoint and a video for both.
So first the PowerPoint, then the video?
Yeah, first the PowerPoint, then the video. Yeah. Then comes Chabarivka.
Is that the interlude?
That's the interlude, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And show maybe each slide for about 10 seconds or something like that.
Okay, will do.
זה חברת זה השני. השני זה בעלה. שניהם גרים. You guessed.
One moment, please.
Wenn ich nehm der Monnen sich, wenn ich bin a Kind gewesen, in der Heim in Städtele amol, in die schöne Winternacht pflegen mir spazieren gehen und cholemen chaloi meson azol. Oi wie demals is gewein, azoi harzig, azoi schön, wenn wir pflegen gehen vorbei die Schul und dem Hasen schöne Stimme hat geklingen so früh bei dem Moment mit groß Gefühl. Oi que va correr royedera ma wird zoi noi tachas shivetoy tachas tachas shivetoy kevakara sero yedera oy ma wird zoi Shivtoy ma v'yitzoy noy tachas shivtoy tachas tachas shivtoy Oy ma v'yitzoy noy tachas shivtoy Bin ich von früher geblieben, ist in Herz bei mir. Was ist geworden von mein Städtele? Was ist geworden von mein alter Heim? Oi, wie es bängt sich noch mein Städtele. Mein Jugend hab ich doch verbracht in dem. das Geselle, das Schulche, wie harzig und wie schön, das Bäumele, das Milche, will ich es wenn noch sehen. Was ist geworden von mein Städtele, was ist geworden von mein alter Heim. Belz, Lutzk, Jas, Warsche, das Geselle, das Schulche, wie harzig und wie schön, das Bäumele, das Milche, will ich es wenn noch sehen. Ai, was ist geworden von mein Städtele, was ist geworden von mein alter Heim.
אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין, בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין, ואף על פי שיתממע עם כל זה אני מאמין, ואף על פי שיתממע עם כל זה אני מאמין.
So between few cries, I will speak about a little bit Dr. Vidor. I got this possibility today, and I'm very grateful that you organized this event and to see the faces and the families and the continuation is it is a worth thing to organize this. So I've first met with Dr. Vidor in 2007. I heard only his name from someone and searched in the phone directory his number. Living in my birth town as a high school teacher, I had the idea to build a Holocaust memorial there. I wanted to discuss this idea with him. Also, I was curious, of course. He was the very first Bonyhad Jew I would have ever met in my life. And that time, the only one who could introduce me the forgotten or hidden Yiddishkeit of Bonyhad. I traveled to Pécs to meet with him and his wife. And they welcomed me with exquisite hospitality. There was a smile and positive surprise on his face, and he liked my memorial idea. As we started to talk about the past, they immediately interested me. Gyuri Bácsi was talking calmly and thoughtfully, and I surprised that in his voice there was no any hate or revengeful. He contacted me with Leslie Blau and helped me to organize the publication of his best friend's book. After the book presentation, it seemed to be that Bonyhad has discovered its Jewish past. He was invited to talk there a few times, and it meant a lot to me that he never forgot to express his loyalty in public towards me and my job. Meanwhile, I started to interested in Judaism, and I went to the page shul with them sometimes. And
Sorry, Hazkarah, if you don't mind, if you can just make sure that you're talking closely to the mic, because it goes from good to loud to very low.
My English. So meanwhile, I started to interested in Judaism, and I went to the page shul with them sometimes, and even my very first seder I spent with sitting near Magdalene and Yuri Bachi at the main table in the elegant, I don't know the word in English, page synagogue's hall. Our friendship developed during the years. They helped me to be a volunteer soldier in Israel. And several times I even asked personal advices from them as well, because of their harmonic marriage made a huge impression at me. And thanks God, Baruch Hashem, after getting married, my very first visit to Bonyhad, we met again in Page. At the same time, I was able to introduce them to new persons. One was my husband, Yehuda, and the other was myself as a Jewish woman. I am very privileged, and wait a minute, I'm very privileged that I think I lost my paper, it's not here, that I'm very privileged to meet with them, and I don't know if, yeah, I find. I'm thankful for him and Magdalene, because my journey from Bonyhad. I have first met with Dr. Vidor in 2007. I heard only his name from someone and researched in the phone directory his number. Living in my birth town as a high school teacher, I had the idea to build a Holocaust memorial there. I wanted to discuss this idea with him. Also, I was curious, of course. He was the very first Bonyhad Jew I would have ever met in my life. And that time, the only one who could introduce me the forgotten or hidden Yiddishkeit of Bonyhad. I traveled to Page to meet with him and his wife, and they welcomed me with exclusive hospitality. There was a smile and a positive surprise on his face, and he liked the memorial idea. As we started to talk about the past, they immediately entrusted me. Yuri Bachi was talking calmly and thoughtfully, and I was surprised that in his voice there was no any hate or revengeful. He contacted me with Leslie Blau and helped me to organize the publication of his best friend's book, Leslie Blau, Bonyhad, a destroyed Jewish community. After the book presentation, it seemed to be that Bonyhad has discovered its Jewish past. He was invited to talk there a few times. And it meant a lot to me that he never forgot to express his loyalty in public towards me and my job. Meanwhile, I started to be interested in Judaism, and I went to the page shul with them sometimes, and I remember that the very first seder I spent with sitting near Magdalene and Yuri Bachi at the main table, because they were very honored members of the Page Jewish community, of course, in the Page Synagogue's hall. Our friendship developed during the years. They helped me to be a volunteer soldier in Israel, and several times I even asked personal advices from them as well, because of their harmonic marriage made a huge, huge impression on me. And thanks God, Baruch Hashem, after getting married, my very first visit to Bonyhad, at my very first visit to Bonyhad, we met again in Pécs. And at the same time, I was able to introduce them two new persons. One was my husband, Yehuda, and the other was myself as a Jewish woman. I am very privileged and thankful for him and Magdaleni because I feel my journey from Bonyhad to my present life hardly would start without meeting with him and knowing him personally.
Nagyon kevesen fejezik be ezt a pilóta helyzet. De ő ment mindig feljebb és feljebb. Egy szép napon kaptunk egy levelet, hogy meghívtak bennünket, hogy a fiam tábornoki rangot kap. És hogy meghívnak bennünket. És elmentem a feleségemmel, és ott a katona, a főparancsnok, hogy mondják az ember?
A főparancsnok.
A főparancsnok az egész katonaságnál. Nézem, aki a hajókra, ez meg a földinek a fő tábornoka. Volt valami 50 nagyon magas rangú vezető, és nézek jobbra-balra, azt mondom, ez nem lehet igaz. Ez nem lehet igaz. Hát mert most ölték meg a szüleimet, meg a testvéreimet, hogy lehet az, hogy a fiam kap tábornoki rangot, és a fiam felesége adott nekem valamit inni, egy pohár vizet, de nem kiabáltam hangosan, de azt mondtam, Istenem, nyisd ki az ég kapuját. Én azt akarom, hogy az anyukám és az apukám és a testvéreim lássák, hogy az unokája tábornoki rangot kapott az izraeli. Nekem. És 4 nap után megkapta a főparancsnokságot. Ez volt április 1-én, mikor kapott tábornoki rangot, és április 4-én megkapta a főparancsnoki rangot.
רחמים שייכים אמרונים, עמתנו ולחיינו על כנפי השכינות, ומלך קדושים דהרים, ירזוינו לפיה מסעירים. אז נשמעת
Kedoshim.
Baruch Shem Bonyhad Tati.
Amen. Shkoyach. Next up, we're going to hear from Rabbi Yitzchak Feldman. Leslie Feldman is going to speak to us a little bit about Bonyhad. This is a very special speech because I have personal Hazkarah Tov to the Feldmans and the Neventhal families for helping sponsor the third edition of my book on the Hebrew language. This book over here. So I look very forward to hearing what the Mr. Feldman has to say.
Welcome everybody, welcome. I see on my screen that we have maybe 60, close to 70 log-ons, which could mean it could mean as much as 130 people or something of that nature, which is incredible for the Yort site. I remember the small group that started it, at least to what I recall in America. But much has been said by various people prior to me coming on here. But I was discussed to speak about Bonyhad from the perspective of a young boy. Just to introduce myself, if you don't know who I am, I'm Yitzchak Feldman. My parents are Shmuel and Anna Feldman, Zichron Livrocha. I was born in Bonyhad after the war, and I lived there until the revolution. So everything on my Girsa de Yankasa comes from there. Everything that I went to yeshiva there, I went to cheder, I went to public school there. So I had the early life experience of Bonyhad. And truthfully, the experience was a warm, happy experience, despite the terrible tragedies that the Kehillah went through. I think the parents tried extra to make our life easy and were precious. Children were precious. There were no children when the war ended. There were none. So let me just go back and go over some of the things that some people have said. But I do want to say, talking about Rav Polak, who spoke about Bonyhad, I just want to say, how is my shachas to Bonyhad, other than the fact that I was born there? Actually, my grandfather on my father's side, who my namesake, Rabbi Yitzchak Yehuda Feldman, Oliver Sholem, Zichron Livrocha, came to Bonyhad. Why did he come to Bonyhad? He was in Mattersdorfer. He was sent to Bonyhad to learn in the yeshiva. And he learned in the yeshiva, and eventually he ended up marrying a very important family in Bonyhad, the Marcus Mishpacha. And that's my grandmother. Her name is Freidel Yehudis. There's the daughter of one of the daughters of Marcus. He was a big Toys for yeshiva. He was a supporter of the yeshiva. And actually the yeshiva, part of the yeshiva was in the back of the Marcus house, towards the rear, from what I recall that I was told when I was a kid. So that's just one thing. Second thing my father always said, and someone else said it in a different word, but my father always said that Bonyhad is Ir Shekila Tamid Chachomim, and he didn't say it once, he said it many times. But obviously he was one of them, and from his Marbet Torah his whole life, and his insistence on Dvar Torahs in the appropriate time, Zemiras, Halacha, to keep all the minhagim the way it's supposed to be, is all a source that comes from the Bonyhad wellspring, if you could say that. So Lemaisa, let me just bring you back to after the war. Obviously, I wasn't really born yet. My parents got married in 45, late 45. But what happened really was Bonyhad did not suffer a lot from the war in the sense of physical destruction. Very little. Of course, the killer suffered. 1,200, over 1,200 people were deported, never came back. The Sheris HaPleita, maybe 200, 250 people came back. Many of them lost spouses, lost everything, and their goal was to put up the Kehillah again, like all the minhagim, all the dinim, and all the takonas that existed before. Nothing else. They were we're an am kashay orev, but that is sometimes very good because we're stubborn. We want to do what we want to do, which we know is right from our Messiah. So when came back, they came and somehow they struggled to put their lives together, find wives or get married. There were no children. I think maybe there was one child who survived somewhere. I don't think they stayed in Bonyhad. And I was one of the first ones born, I believe. So obviously, so they put together, they opened up the Beis Medrash, which was in a small small area of the behind the pool, and they also had the cheder room, and all the way at the end was a room for the Rav. Now the Rav was
probably has a mask. He put a mask on.
Can you hear me?
I give him a mask. He must have a mask.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the Rav was David Moshkovitz, but he wasn't only Rav in Bonyhad. He was Bonyhad also in Mishkot, and he would come and go at different times as required. I don't know the details. I was too little to know, but I know the Beis Medrash was open, and the cheder room was there, but there were no children. The shul was open, and everything was done the way it was before the war. I remember in the shul before. Oh yeah, I want to mention this. So when he came back, my uncle Reb Shmulzi Herman, who was the Rosh Kol, I believe he was Rosh Kol before the war. He continued to be Rosh Kol afterwards. My father worked in the background in his quiet way. I saw there's a museum for Hungarian Jewry.
I apologize. I'm not sure where the sound went off. In any case, what I was talking about is the reconstruction of the Kehillah, and so I said that the Shoichet was the Duvel Breyer, and there was no at that point there was no cheder, so we don't know who the Rebbe was going to be. Any case, as far as children are concerned, we were part of whatever goes on in the shul. We were running around town, visiting friends, talking to people. Avram Goldring was the Baal Tefillah, beautiful Baal Tefillah. Rosh Hashanah, everybody wore the kittel with the high yarmulke on it. Yom Kippur, in the shield, they spread straw everywhere for the avodah when they had to be karim mishtachlim. I remember as a small kid, I think I played Marcus. We went together to cut flowers and greens for Shvius in the big shul. Actually, the big shul was only used from Pesach Shmini Atzeres, I guess. I remember the akufis in the shul, beautiful. And we were everywhere. We went to visit the Blows, the Bahrains, the Kreismans. Evan Kreisman was my contemporary. Levi Marcus. I mean, these people I know since they were from the day they were born. We know each other. Of course, the Blouse, Agi, Edith, and Leslie. From day one, my parents were very close to everybody, so I was close with them. At some point, my family, we moved to I was very young, to Sobochak, Utsa 16. This house, I think, belonged to some other Yid from before the war. It could be, it was from Zolim Herman, I'm not really sure. And so we were in that house. And on one side, there was a gate, and the gate had a yellow star on it. I'm assuming this was part of the ghetto. It was never removed. And that side went to the kitchen. The other side had an outside porch. And this porch was opening to a garden area where there was trees and this. In the back of the garden, there was a gate that went to the Froelich property. And actually, my mother would send me to Mr. Froelich with a pail because he had 2 milk cows back there. And I went back there to get real Chalav Yisrael, ongoing basis, very often. As far as other things are concerned, the bread and challah, there was dough was made at home, and the sticker was put on the challah or the bread and taken to the bakery, and he baked it, and then we brought it home with the tag on it and with your name. As far as on Shabbos, oh yeah, I forgot to say the mikveh was down at the end, down the end of the street, and on before Shabbos, everybody took their cholent to sholet. They took to the mikveh. There was a big boiler. The boiler looked to me like a locomotive without wheels. It was sitting on a platform, and the embers were left from Erev Shabbos.
Hello, excuse me. The cholent was The cholent was taken to the mikveh where they had the matzah oil oven. That's where they took everybody to cholent. I remember.
I am talking about after the war.
Clear, my friend.
Why are you breaking in? What's your problem?
No problem, but cholent was
taken. What I saw, okay? Then you can get your own what you saw, okay? So the cholent was taken to the mikveh, to the where the boiler was, and it was put in with a wire around the top and your name on it. And after davening on Shabbos, it went to pick it up. They called out, somebody was there, maybe Froelich or somebody else.
Did I have your first name first or your last name first?
I have no idea. Mr. Froelich, whatever. Okay. So that was that. At some point, the communists my father was taken away, and they also at some point told us to leave the house we were in. First they took a half, then they took the other half away, and we moved to a multi-dwelling, which was right by the shul, where the shul was, the Beit Botem Midrashim were, and there was a door that came out of, and across the street from us lived Machi and Mary Cohn, and they had the soda factory, and they had their wagon that they used to deliver it, and on there they had the 2 donkeys who were pulling that wagon, and you could sit on there, and you would pull the string, and they would automatically go home. They knew where to go, where to turn, where their food was. I remember going with the wagon to collect schach for sukkahs in the back parts of Bonyhad. Okay, so this went on for that. Then when we finally, there were enough children, like 3 or 3.5, we went to Cheder, and the girls went to the girls in Beis Yaakov, let's say. The Rebbe was Rebbe Kav Zichron Levrocha and his wife Sorineni, They, from what I understand, they never really had compensation for this thing, but the cheder was an incredible cheder. The girls also, he taught us, what we learned there in the years that we were in Bonyhad was in a very, very high level. To read, Chumash Rashi, Mishnayos, Gemara, learned how to speak in Yiddish. I'm skipping somewhat, but when it came to America or went to yeshiva, gave me a faher, they couldn't believe what's going on. I spoke Yiddish, I knew the Gemara, so I was at the same level as kids in America. So I just want to give that big schus to them for their selfless efforts in making that cheder and also the girls' school. Some of the pictures we saw earlier in the presentations, that was the pictures from the cheder. I'm over there. My sister Julie should be well, also is in the girls' picture. I think one of the pictures was taken when they took us on a vacation to Balaton. And I think that's where one of the pictures was taken. So in any case, so we had a very nice, interesting youth. We did not feel the anti-Semitism that probably existed. I remember going to the Neolog Shul on I think Motzei Shabbos is Daven Ma'ariv there to keep some kind of a contact with the community so that the government doesn't possibly take it or something like that. I'm not aware of it. I don't know. The matzah bakery that was mentioned, I remember myself being there and helping to weigh the flour for the matzah. I was very small. I mean, 7, 8, maybe. I don't think even 9. But in any case, that age, the matzah and Bonyhad, they didn't need. They ate machine matzah, but the shmura matzah that was baked was basically for the first seder, for the first and second seder. That's what it was for. And everybody ate gebrachts. When you came to shul the first day, they wanted to know how many kleudlach you ate. Same thing during the week. They put back in the smatters. They were learning every morning. They were learning every night between the Kamara. I used to get up at 5:30. My mother would tell me, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I want to go. I want to have tea." She says, "Don't drink the tea. They make you go." But I was there and I enjoyed it. Shabbos afternoon, there was faher many times with the balabatim to see how the boys are doing in the yeshiva, in the cheder. When the time came, they would send us outside to see if there were stars, and we'd stay there, and then I would come in, we'd say, yes, we have 3 stars. They would start with the Dudburg Tziri. And talking about this, okay, just one more thing I want to say about with the Lowy house, which was near the Neolog Shul. I used to take there with a sled. There was a hill there. It is also across the street from Leib Marcus's home. And we would ride down there with a sled during the winter time. So one day, all of a sudden in the morning, we wake up and my parents says, here's 2 pairs of pants, put them on. These 2 pairs of coats, put them on. And I guess it was late November, probably in 1956. Yeah, it was Hanukkah, possibly. And we got on a bus. And all of a sudden I see other people from the Kehillah. Apparently the revolution had occurred, even though I think the Russians had already taken control, but the borders apparently were still open, and many of the parents didn't think that there was a future for Yiddishkeit in Bonyhad because of the communists. So I think that was the thing. I want to mention one more thing. I remember the cheder used to be in the morning. We would play soccer. It would be very nice. Then when we had to go to school, the government forced you had to go to public school. So the cheder was switched to the afternoon. And on Shabbos, we had to leave to go to school because that was the rule. But I remember they were davening Musaf, and I would look at the little clock on top, and I would leave and go to school. We didn't have to write, but we had to be there. So in any case, so the next thing is we're on the bus going to Budapest, and then from there, we came to America. It's a long, long story. But I think that the Kehillah within the 6 months the killer was finished. Everyone left. I don't even know what happened to all this forum. Maybe the killer from Budapest took it over. And I just want to switch quickly to America, where we came to my uncle Shmuel Ehrman, to his house in Borough Park. He had just started the Poala Gudas Yisrael Beis Medrash on 16th Avenue, and immediately that was our place to be. My father, over he right away became the Baal Koira. He was giving some shiurim. Shmuel Herman was giving shiurim, depending different times. And then right away, as I remember then, the first year, when they had the shul, they started the yortzeit, the Bonyhad yortzeit on Shivos B'Tammuz at night, right after the tzom. Of course, there was always an issue because the tzom is very late. It's the summer, so we didn't always have many people, and we sort of invited people to come and stay and eat, so to fill up a minyan. And in there, usually my father spoke, Shmuel Herman spoke, my uncle Lotzi spoke, and others who came, Zoli Herman, sometimes Golding was there, and others. But we were very small, and Leib Marcus, myself, a few others, Mr. Fuchs, that you mentioned earlier. As time came on, the Singer brothers came from Eretz Yisrael, and they immediately put themselves in, and with a strong application, they created a whole increase in the people attendance there at some point. Their children, the Einiklach, and everyone else came and became really a movement of the whole killer to be at these at the yahrzeit. Then at some point in time when Hazkarah came along, I remember being interviewed by her. I remember Shragi, my son, he was helping her get video so she can do a documentary. Then the women started to come, and so then at that point, it became too small. So we moved it to various different locations. Lately, in the last few years, we were in the Ocean Parkway, the Rabbi Flamshul, my dear cousin Debbie and her husband were, and others were sponsors for the thing. Otherwise, we used to collect money for each meal, for each portion. And that's where this Shtalshalut went from a small group to a group that we're international. Of course, we're suffering right now with this machla that we have. Shubikorev should be over, and everybody should go back to our normal, regular lives, being able to daven with the people, being close, being visiting. And I just want to say one small word. I'm going to end with that. We're connected with Shivosa B'Tammuz, Chai Tammuz, was very close. It's all one part of this tragedy that we have. There many things went bad on B'Tammuz. The Chaimas were broke. Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Lichos, but I saw in the storm that the worst of all the things that happened was that there was no more carbon tumid, no more carbonas, because basically it was the siege. They ran out of carbon. They couldn't make it. So the tumid was every single day, 365 days a year, Shabbos, Yontif, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, everything. So why is that considered the worst of all the other bad things that happened? Because the consistency that showed every single day, we never changed. We were always following the Derech Hashem. So I think that Bonyhad and our Hila and others who are having their children, Torah, Yira, and yeshivas, whichever type, whatever, doesn't make any difference. That is the biggest victory we can have over the Rotstim of all the Rishon. And maybe we should come to Mashiach Tzidkenu B'meir Meir. Amen. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Feldman.
Good afternoon to those of us who are logging into Eretz Yisrael and of the East Coast. And good morning to all of us who are logging in from East Coast and beyond. I was asked to speak about a certain topic of Bonyhad, which is probably the most important part of Bonyhad, to discuss the history of the yeshiva of Bonyhad. So much so that if someone would talk about the history of Bonyhad and leave out any mention of the yeshiva, of what it meant to the Kehillah to have a yeshiva amongst themselves, the pride they took of housing a yeshiva amongst the little city of Bonyhad, anybody who leaves out this issue is basically not talking about the history of Bonyhad. Just to introduce myself, my name is Shalom Tzvi Brown. My grandfather is Leo Brown. My grandmother, Ibi Brown, also Eliezer and Chana Brown. My grandfather's mother is a Marcus, and her father is a person by the name of Shalom Tzvi Marcus, which I'm ultimately named after. My grandfather had a uncle by the name of Yosef Yehuda Marcus, which will be where I will end my drasha, my speech. I consider it a great honor and a privilege to be able to share with you a bit about the history of Bonyhad, to perhaps get a small glimpse of the great past of Bonyhad. I'd like to begin by asking the following question, something which has been bothering me when I looked into a little about the history of Bonyhad. I've noticed that a lot of cities, not just Bonyhad per se, when they sign off, when they refer to letters to one to another, they write Kuf Kuf the Bonyhad, let's say. Kuf Kuf the Amsterdam, Kuf Kuf the whatever city it is. What does Kuf Kuf stand for? We all know it means Kahal Kedushas or Kehilas Kodesh Bonyhad. Why is it that the city was referred to Kehilas Kodesh or Kahal Kedushas Bonyhad? What was it that they merited to have this title of Kuf Kuf, Kedusha of Kehilas Kodesh of Bonyhad? We find a similar city of Kodesh, but it's referred to as Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh, not Kehilas Yerushalayim. It's Ir HaKodesh. So why is it that Bonyhad and the cities of Europe were considered Kehilas Kodesh, and as opposed to Yerushalayim was Ir HaKodesh, not the Kehillah? I'm not going to answer for all the other cities. I'm just going to perhaps shed some light of my understanding of why was Bonyhad per se Zoicha and merited to have this title of Kedusha, Kahal Kehilas HaKodesh. We heard before from Rabbi Pollack in Zurich that the first Rav in 1746 was the name of Yitzchak Zekel Spitz.
Pollack is from Antwerp, not Zurich.
I'm sorry, Antwerp. Thank you.
His brother Zachariah lives in Switzerland, but he lives in the.
Thank you. And he mentioned that Yitzchak Zekel Spitz from Nikolsburg was the first Rav of Bonyhad. What happened all of a sudden that they decided to import a Rav in Bonyhad, to Bonyhad? According to census, the city of Bonyhad perhaps had about 4,000 or so people living there at that time. Of those, Jews were roughly about 800-900, which gives you about 20-25% of the population of Bonyhad was Jewish, was from maybe. Now, when Yidden get together and feel comfortable, Yiddishkeit-wise, growing in Yiddishkeit, feeling a hub, feeling a bubble that's growing, it's naturally by Yidden that they would look for a leader to spiritually guide them. It was that drive, it was that quest of feeling a comfortable, a growing of Yiddishkeit, that they needed a Rav. They needed someone to guide them spiritually. So they looked. They went to import a Rav. And it wasn't just any Rav. They looked for the best. They sent out letters to the big cities where the Talmidei Chachamim were there, and they asked, please send us a big gadol, send us a rav, send us someone who could lead us, who could guide us. And the rav's requirement wasn't a small job. You had to start a shul, you had to give shiurim, you had to be in charge of the Chevra Kedisha, you had to implement the yeshiva. It was on his job to do all these things, and in later years, there was Irgun Chesed. It started from within. When the Kehillah feels the need, the drive that the Kehillah has is what makes a Kehillah go. We find throughout the history of Bonyhad that when they aspire to bring in a Rav, it's a sign that the city is alive. The city is bubbling. The city has a koich of Yiddishkeit. 1781, Harav Yisrael Biznetz, and afterwards Harav Yehuda Leif Freistadt. And it was roughly 50 years later that Bonyhad suffered its first tragedy. In 1794, there was a huge, big fire that broke out, destroyed many buildings. It wasn't unusual for fires to break out in Europe. And in that year, many buildings burnt down, and among them was the shul, the yeshiva. It's written in the Tshuva and the Noida B'Yehuda that they try to look up some document to a certain halachic shaila that was discussed over there. And he said, we can't look up any information. Our shul burnt down. And they write that Sifrei Kodesh was burnt. The Sefer Torahs were burnt. More than one. Sifrei Torahs, they write. And we don't have any books of Yadai. We don't need more Svarim. It got burnt to the ground. Now hear what they had 50 years later. Sifrei Torahs. In 50 years, you could come up with more than one Sefer Torah. They had Ksav Yadai. They had Svarim and Oitzer. In 50 years, look what Bonyhad did. Look what Bonyhad accomplished. And it was burned to the ground. The city was devastated. As a matter of fact, they had a kina that they said on the yard side of the Sreifa, which was the Shabbos after Pesach. And in this kina with the Rashi Tevis of the Rav Avram Yehuda Leib, Aleph Beis Reis, and so on, that they said every year on the yard side. But then the people rebounded. They once again rallied. We need another yeshiva. We need another shul. And it wasn't until 1818 that they had a Rav by the name of Rabbi Herschel Charif, Rabbi Tzvi Heller, that it was under his leadership that he aspired. He had a tremendous koyach. He was an attraction. He was famous for his shiurim, his charisma, and it was under his leadership that Bonyhad grew. In yeshiva, that was a large number. They say it was about over 500 bachurim. The number's probably closer to 600. Guys, bachurim came from all over, not just local. Lahavdil, Disney World. How many people just come from Florida? All over the world people come. The same thing was by Bonyhad. Bachurim traveled. It wasn't easy to travel in those years. It wasn't just get on a plane. And they traveled because they wanted to be under that great yeshiva from 1818 and on for the next 25 years. They had a tremendous life. The Kehillah loved it. They offered Essentag, which means that besides the yeshiva, the Kehillah was involved. At that point, it was Irgunei Chesed. Shiurim was given, and of course it was in Yiddish, not in Hungarian. But it wasn't until 1842 that, again, Bonyhad had a little downhill. When the years of the Enlightenment, the Mischatshim started coming, changing old ideas. The ideas was what was once considered minig hamakim. I'll give you an example of what a minig hamakim meant. When a young couple would get married, they had the chuppah outside the shul, in the courtyard. And when the Mischatshim came and said, no, let's change it, let's put it back in the shul. Against minig hamakim, they didn't want that. The bima, as we all know, was in the middle of the shul. They moved it to the front of the shul. Small changes, but a change that the Anshe Kehillah of Bonyhad didn't want this change. We have minhagim. Our Rabbanim that came up established us minhagim. We don't want to change a small thing that makes no real halachic nafkamina. And one of the things which I think bothers me a lot is the drushes. The Rav besides his Shabbos drushes, he gave drusha during the week, and anytime the Kehillah wanted a drusha about a certain halacha coming up, or a certain hashkafa, they had a drusha. And these mischachin, and the minig was that during the drusha, the people sat at the edge of their seats, waiting to hear every single word what the Rav would say, and willing to jump on him. There was a tremendous amount of pilpul. They would jump on him and say, "Hey, Rav, what happened? You asked, he said like this," and he would question him, and the Rav had to answer. And he questioned back until the Rav gave a satisfying answer. There was a pilpul and shir. It wasn't like the Rav would give a drush and the Oilam would shluff. They were alive. They were active. They wanted to hear every single word that the Rav had to say. And these mischachin said, no, let the Rav talk. We'll shluff. It's fine. And the Kehillah didn't want that. But after time again, it took a toll on the Rav, and he said, I have to leave. It was 1854, under much pressure, that the Rav left. The Kehillah was left without a Rav. Again, Yiddishkeit was going down. Bonyhad was going from darkness to black. And it wasn't easy. And it was until 1872, just under 20 years later, that the Kehillah said, you know what, enough with import. Let's look for a local. Let's look for a local Rav who could guide us here, a Bonyhad. And they found Rav Moshe Halevi Polak, a Talmudic Ksav Sofer, a chaver from the Maram Shik. His job wasn't easy. He had to build up what was being knocked for the past 18 or so years. He reestablished the yeshiva. He made the shurim back in Yiddish, not Hungarian, with the backing of the Kehillah, with the support of the Kehillah. Attracted new bachurim, and once again, the yeshiva life started up again. Essen Teig was a very important figure. As a matter of fact, my grandfather tells me that you would not want to go to Mrs. So-and-so for the supper because she would always serve you kasha, and you don't like kasha. And if you don't like kasha, you line your pockets with newspaper, so when she's not looking, you stick it in and, it was delicious. Afterwards, at that period of time, Bonyhad itself produced dayanim.
What did
Bonyhad
you like kasha?
Okay, up to you.
Was it a
Bonyhad
kasha?
itself produced dayanim, magidi shiurim, mechabri sfarim, abdei bezdin. At that point, Bonyhaders, the original Bonyhaders grew with their own self-made people. And we have those svarim. Again, Bonyhad saw great days. The next Rav, 1888, 1889, reviewed the Greenwald, as we heard before, the Rav from Satmar. 1891, Rav Avram Levi Polak was a Moitz and a Magid. And then it was, which will be at that point, 1924, Rav Aaron Pressburger, that again had 100 students. When the Rav got sick, the last and final Rav, Rav Aaron Pressburger, got sick, and he couldn't lead any more Bonyhad at the late 1924 and on. Bonyhad once again was left out of Rav. But it was one more last breath before Nazi Germany and Mach Shimon would walk into that town. That my grandfather's uncle, a person by the name of Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Marcus, who's known as Levi Marcus Yeshiva, single-handedly supported, both emotionally and financially, the yeshiva for 50 boys. And they asked him, why are you doing this? Why? Why do you see, look what's going on. We hear Nazi Germany rearing its ugly head. What are you doing? Why are you establishing a yeshiva? And he made his own building, a place to have a yeshiva that he's going to have the guys know. And you know what he said? Because Bonyhad needs a yeshiva. If there's no yeshiva in Bonyhad, I will make one. I'm quoting him. So to answer my question, why was Bonyhad called Kios HaKodesh? We know back in Parshas Vayetze, Yaakov Avinu traveled, going out of his father Yitzchak's house, and he went to Vayom Mokeh Mahu, which you know is the base on Migdash, and he laid down, the sun went down. He laid down there. And he says, he took me Avnei HaMakom to put around his head. And Rashi brings a medrash that says, because he wanted to protect his Chayis Rois. So he put stones around his head. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a good camper. But one thing I do know, if I would go to the forest and just put stones around my head, I am not doing anything about those Chayis Rois. They'll just eat the rest of my body. What was Yaakov Avinu doing, putting stones around his head to protect him from the Chayis Rois? The Mefarshim are bothered. And they say it wasn't about the Chayis Rois that we know as lions and not tigers. It was the Rois, is the Chayis Rois Aruchni. He says, protect my head. It's the Mokem Kadosh. I'm going from my father's house learning Kol Kuli Torah. I'm going now to the Golis. And he asked Baruch Hu, protect my head. I'm going out to the Golis, to Lavan, to the Goyim. It was that time that Yaakov Avinu was Zoichet to the title Kedoshenu Kedosh Yaakov, which you say in benching. There lies my answer. When someone designates his life, when someone designates his mind for Kedusha, for Torah, for Yiddishkeit, in his title, then he gets the title of a Kadosh. Of course, if someone dies al Kiddush Hashem, he gets a title of Kadosh. But this is when they're alive, when they were active as a Kehillah. They were Zoichet for the title of Kedusha. Because we see that the Kehillah wanted Kedusha. They wanted to be part of a Yiddish life, a Minhagim, a Halacha, Torah. And they accomplished that. Of course they get the title of Kedusha. So, in conclusion, I hope I was able to tap in a bit about the great history of Yeshiva Bonyhad. Although it's probably just the tip of the iceberg. I'm only coming from historical facts. The people that were there know much more than me. Eyewitnesses that are still around today, Admei Vesrim. But one thing I do know, when Mashiach comes in Meher B'Yameinu, I'm going to ask our ancestors, how did you do this? How did you accomplish such great things? They're going to look at us and say, you guys are crazy. It's not a question. We had to have done it. Because that's what Yiddishkeit is based on, Kedusha. Although Bonyhad, as a town, was destroyed, the Torah, the Svarim, the Yotzi Chalatzav still remains. We're all here today. All 63 or so, whatever Zoom people are in here on the Zoom today. We're learning their Torah. We're continuing them in Hagim. And in their footsteps we follow, their Midos, their Hagis. May this be a schus for them. And may they be a male tziosh for all of us. And with that, we'll be Zoicha to greet Mashiach b'mheir b'yameinu amen. Thank you for your time.
Wow. Thank you very much, Shalom Tzvi Brown. That was a very inspiring sermon, and you certainly offered a very entertaining and interesting dramatization of the history of the Kehillah in Bonyhad, especially the Orthodox community. We also have to keep in mind that many survivors and many people who are associated with the Kehillah of Bonyhad come from the Neolog and the status quo communities, and it's something also to keep in mind as well. It's not just that has a copyright on all of this stuff. It's also interesting to note that some of the facts that Shalom Tzvi said over are very interesting ideas. I don't know any evidence about the historical documents about the Kehillah of Bonyhad sending letters to find a new Rav when they got Zekel Spitz. So maybe you can share some of your sources with us. At this point, we're going to have to wrap up. We were supposed to have Shragi Feldman speaking, but it looks like we're going to have to save that for a different year because we're running out of time. So I'd like to thank everybody who participated, all the people who gave their presentations and their speeches, all the people who stayed on listening, all the people who were listening before and they already left. And Be'ezus Hashem, we pray that we're going to see all of you again here next year in Eretz Yisrael for the second International Bonyhad Hazkarah, hosted by Melech HaMashiach himself, speedily and in our days. Amen.
Ruben?
Yes, sir.
Yes, let Shragi make some statements because he wanted to make some closing remarks, which are important, procedurally.
Shragi seems to change his mind.
If Shragi is online.
No, that's fine. Just as a reminder, first of all, thank you all for joining and participating. I apologize for any of the technical difficulties that we experienced along the way. I will perhaps send some remarks for others who would like to join or would like to see them. I'm going to be sending out an email with the, if you haven't already received it, with the link to the sign up for the membership. We have tried several times in the past, and unfortunately, we've had many issues with people not having their names, not giving the right names. So it will be nice if we can get a list of all people. Obviously, when you're putting in your name, when it says first name, it's not the last name, it's the first name. And so really appreciate it all. Thank you all very much. And I hope to see you in Yerushalayim, Kilas Kadesha Yerushalayim, Mehevi.
Let's give Shragi and Larry a round of applause.
We're going to leave this open so that people, if they want to converse, they are allowed to converse. If you want to privately message each other, you're welcome to. Please remember to add your information to the Bonyhad list. Thank you so much, and have a good summer. Bye.
We should also give Reuven a round of applause.
Hey.
Kol hakavod to you.
And also to Larry Pfeffer, a round of applause. And Eva Illich. Eva.
Gabi, you and I will speak on the phone, okay?
Okay, no problem. I just want to say hello to Chava Rivka. I haven't seen you for like 15 years, 20 years, and you still look beautiful, and you're still very, vibrant and everything, which is very, very good. And keep up your good work. I'm not from Bonyhad, but I'm an honorary member of Bonyhad.
Glad that you joined us, Gabi.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. And everybody should be well and should be keep safe. That's the most important thing right now.
Shragi, did
everything
you also...
Everything will be good.
Let's hope so. Shragi,
Hello, anybody hears me? Yeah. Avramosha Brown, Pinchas and Leichnei Nisan. Anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Is Taki Laser Brown or Ibi or Rivkala Brown or Mendy Brown around? I can say personal hello to them.
Yeah, Mendy Brown. Moishele.
I don't see Mendy.
You see me?
Mendy, I don't see you, Mendy.
Oh, one second, my mother's going to sit down first. She's at a chair.
Let me see your mother.
Zelig, tell Bobby to sit down.
Where's Ibi?
Right here. Tell Bobby to sit down in the Zayden's chair.
Ibi, where's Ibi? Maybe she recognizes.
Yeah, of course she's going to recognize you.
Ibi?